Hello folks, it's time to grab your marigolds, feather duster and AK-47 because today I'll be reviewing Dystopia Corp's first person shooter, The Cleaner. This is the developer's debut game and it's available to play on PC only via Steam. Also from what I can tell, Dystopia Corp is actually just one person, and so everything I say, both the good and the bad here, should be considered with that in mind. I love the concept for this game. You get started with no exposition apart from a message telling you that you're going to kill some child traffickers. Fair enough, you can't really argue with that, and then you work your way through 6 levels gunning down bad guys. The developer describes the game as a die and retry, and that is exactly what will happen. You will die. A lot. So to give you a little bit more information about the gameplay, this is a hardcore first person shooter with the only checkpoint being the beginning of each level. 1 bullet and that's it, good night Vienna, and back you go to the start of the level. Fortunately for you though, there is a time slowing mechanism, a la Max Payne, that helps you get a head start on each target and shoot them before they can take aim at you. However, if you've just used the mechanism and it's not available to you, you're most likely going to end up dead. These fellas show no mercy, let me tell you. You use guns dropped by enemies along the way. With each gun you pick up typically holding around 6 to 8 bullets, so you really do need to hit the target and make sure you don't waste them. The bullets, that is. Please go ahead and waste the bad guys. That's okay. Anyway, there's some platforming involved and you can kick doors and enemies, sometimes to death. This cleaner has some hefty legs, I can assure you. So what did I enjoy about this game? Well, there's a steep learning curve here, but it does become more fun as you eventually learn the level and enter a kind of state of flow as you down one enemy, pick up their weapon, and then move on to the next villain in a balaclava. Most of the weapons are fun to fire, even the assault rifle that I initially struggled with until I realised short bursts, starting from the ground up, is the best way to use them. Some users on Steam reported the aim being clunky, but I didn't have any difficulties with this, and this is coming from someone who only recently joined the PC Master Race and started using a keyboard for first person shooters. Which reminds me, this game doesn't actually have controller support, so there's that to consider as well if you're thinking of picking it up. I loved the soundtrack to this game as well. It carries the gameplay along with the right kind of energy like the John Wick films that the game draws inspiration from. There were some initial complaints about the environment being too dark and some players were unable to see the enemies. I downloaded the game right after the developer released a patch to address this, and as a result, I didn't really experience any issues. Having said all that, there are some sticking points preventing this game from reaching its full potential. And these points are very sticky. I'll start with the platforming elements. I'd say this is the weakest aspect of the gameplay by far, as it's really difficult to control and it slowed down the pace for me to a point where I felt like giving up. I feel like the cleaner would flow much better if these segments were removed altogether, although I do understand that it's probably intended as a break from the combat and was designed to help with pacing, but all it did for me is cause frustration and a desire to throw in the towel. Something else that broke up the flow of the game for me was the crazy physics that led to weapons from felled enemies flying off to random corners of the room, which meant you had to slow down and look around for them. It would have been much better if these could just land next to the enemy, so you can move swiftly to the next target, as I think the game creator intended. It would also have been good to have extra combat options. Impressive as this fella's legs are, once you run out of weapons and bullets, you're kind of out of options, although it did lead to some sort of farcical situations where I was sort of running around in a cat and mouse chase, trying to kick people to death. The enemy AI was also a little bit lacking in that they didn't tend to chase you around and kind of just stayed in the same place on each retry. Some didn't seem to notice you at all until you interacted with the environment or did something to get their attention, like shoot them in the face. Other times they were somehow able to sense you through closed doors and kill you. There's the core of a really good game here, but the platforming, funny physics and the inconsistent AI prevent it from being what I'd hoped it would be. It's still very playable and worth checking out if you enjoy shooters. I also feel like there's some fixes for most of the issues that I've talked about today, and I hope that the developer will be able to release further updates in the near future so we can clean up these nasty villains the way they intended us to. Thanks for watching to the end. You're fantastic. If you found this video useful, go ahead and like it. I'm uploading indie game reviews each week, so if that's your thing, please smash that subscribe button. I've always wanted to say that. And feel free to leave some comments as well, particularly if you've played any of the games which served as inspiration for the cleaner, such as Hotline Miami and Superhot. Tell me what you thought of those. I haven't actually played either of those games, but definitely would like to. So let me know if you think that's a worthwhile experience, and if you have played the cleaner, you know, do you think that this stacks up well against those two titles? I'll see you in the next one.